What's up guys, it's Humphrey. So in today's video, I'm gonna share some of the items that I think are a little bit unnecessary in our modern society and life. I think that we spend so much money on things that we don't really need. And oftentimes many people live a life of excess that I feel like is detrimental to their financial situation. Now, the goal of my channel is to help you save some more money. And if we can figure out how to save some money in some areas of our life in which we don't need to spend money, then that means we're gonna have more money for other activities such as investing or spending money on things that we really prioritize in our life, like family, traveling, and experiences. If you agree with any of the items in today's video, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. So make sure to drop a like and comment if any of the items in today's video resonates with you. So the first item on my list is the newest iPhone or the newest phone every single year. So it's basically Apple's job to extract the most money that it can from its customers, and they are very good at it. There's a reason why they're one of the biggest companies in the world, and the way that they do this is by coming out with a refresh of their hardware every single year, like clockwork. Since the iPhone was invented in 2007, I believe, Apple has literally almost had an event every single September announcing their newest, latest model. Early on, I thought that this was probably okay. We would see huge improvements in software and form factor. Phones would get a little bit smaller, the cameras would get better, thinner, etc. But these days, there's hardly a difference between the iPhone 7 and 8 or the iPhone 11 and 12. There's even less of a difference between the phones and their S versions. I would even say that if you can wait 2 to 3 years before buying a new phone, that'll still allow you to stay on the cutting edge of technology. That's where basically you'll notice a significant difference in the user experience, the ease of the device, and the speed and other features. Now, personally, I won't buy a new phone unless there's something very specific about the newest release that appeals to me and can't be substituted for in my current device. I just don't think that upgrading every single year is worth it anymore, and I see many people fall into the trap of upgrading every single product cycle. The next unnecessary item that you shouldn't really be buying are new cars. So new cars are pretty fancy and all that, but as you may or may not know, once you drive that car off of the lot, the car is immediately worth way less, sometimes even thousands of dollars less, and that's due to depreciation. If you are gonna buy a car, the best value for a car on the depreciation curve is probably about 3 to 4 years used. And if you're looking to figure out what the best value you can get is when you're buying a used car, just Google the following phrase: depreciation curve plus the make and model of your car. I think that too many people get caught up in the idea of a new car when in reality, if you buy a car that's maybe 3 to 4 years used, maybe someone's only like leased it for just like a few years and it has some really low mileage, you can get actually a really good deal. In fact, sometimes up to 40% off the MSRP of the car. And that's exactly how I purchased my SUV. So it was a car that somebody owned for about 3 years as a lease. It had about 15,000 miles on it. So about 5,000 miles on it for every year for 3 years. And so when I ended up actually going to the dealership to purchase it, it only had that many miles on it. And most of the depreciation had been chipped away already. The best part of this entire experience of buying a car for me was that it was a used car, but it was basically brand new because the person barely drove it. The other thing to definitely consider when buying a car is the make and the model, because some cars will depreciate way faster than others, and some retain their value very, very well. For example, I know that a lot of Jeep Wranglers out there retain their value very well off the top of my head. And some of the other cars out there, like the BMW 5 Series or the Nissan Leaf, they actually have the worst depreciation out there with an average 5-year depreciation of well over 50%. Actually, sorry, 70%. I think that's a big thing that a lot of people that buy new cars have, is maybe they just can't accept the fact that they're driving a quote used car. And let me tell you something, guys, if you can get over this ego or this pride that you may have in buying something that's used, you're going to be able to save a lot of money, enjoy yourself in other areas of your life. The next thing that I think is pretty unnecessary to spend money on are actually designer sunglasses. And these are the types of sunglasses that can run anywhere from $100 to $500 a pair. And the worst part of all of these sunglasses, in my opinion, is that they're made by the same parent company known as Luxottica. Luxottica basically has an entire monopoly on the sunglasses market. They own brands like Chanel, Oakley, Persols, Ray-Ban, Burberry, Coach, etc. And they keep the price of their sunglasses as high as possible to artificially inflate that market. And the thing with designer sunglasses is that I've been there before. they are so expensive and you'll lose them, you'll damage them, you'll scratch them, they'll get stolen. And now all of a sudden that's a big investment that you're no longer able to enjoy. I mean, how easy is it to actually break a nice pair of sunglasses? Pretend you just have them on the passenger seat in your car and then you throw your backpack on your seat because you're really not careful, and they can get damaged just like that. So that type of situation can happen to anybody. The main differentiating feature of sunglasses that I found is probably the polarized lenses. So if you can find a cheaper alternative when it comes to sunglasses, like I would opt for the $20 or the $40 pair with a little bit of polarization, then you'll be a lot better off financially. Designer sunglasses to me seem like a status symbol more than anything. So when it comes to buying things just for status, I find that to not be very valuable. Now, if you do find that you love designer sunglasses for some reason and that you have a hard time quitting them, well, a good question to ask yourself is, would you rather look rich or would you rather be rich? Now, I'm personally of the mind that it would be much better to spend that extra money on a nice vacation or a gift for your loved ones. The next unnecessary amount of spending is actually on things that are on sale or sale items that you don't really need. So the purpose of a sale from a retailer's perspective is to get customers to think that they're getting a good deal on that product. And there's a reason why so many of these retailers choose to have a ton of sales. So let me show you guys a screenshot from my email. This brand, Rag & Bone, which is a designer brand for clothing, always sends me a 30% or 25% off email. Now, seemingly all the time, there are these sales in my inbox, and that's because they want me to perceive that for a short time that their items are cheaper than they should be going for, inciting me to spend more money. So one of the ways to actually reduce your temptation to spend money on sales like this is just to unsubscribe from their newsletters. And while I'm actually on the topic of newsletter, I guess this is a good time to plug my own newsletter, which is Hump Days. It's a weekly newsletter with a roundup of financial news, current events, and more. Make sure to check that out in the description below. And unlike those pesky newsletters asking you to buy something for 25% off, mine is completely free to sign up. It's just another way to stay connected to me. So I see a lot of my friends fall for these sales, and not only with clothes, but with furniture, with cars. And if something is $500 off, but it still ends up costing you $549, well, you're still spending more money than you intended to spend initially. The other interesting thing about sales is that retailers are still going to be making money on you. So it's not like they're selling these items for a miraculously fire sale price where they're losing money. And actually, when you buy a sale item, something psychologically interesting happens. It's known as the Diderot effect. It's basically where one purchase leads to a lot of chain reaction of purchases down the line. So for example, let's say you pick up an electric bike just because it's on sale. Well, now you have to go buy the helmet. You might have to buy a basket, a bell, and any other accessories that come with an electric bike, and all those costs really add up. Now, I'm not saying to never buy anything on sale. Like, I actually think it's a good idea to buy things on sale if you know you're gonna buy it eventually. So a good example of this is like, if you're gonna move to Minnesota in the winter, it might be a really good time to pick up winter clothes on sale since you're gonna buy that purchase anyway. And the same thing with bulk purchases as well. If you're gonna buy things like detergent and toilet paper, if you do see a sale for that, that could save you money in the long run since those are purchases that you would have bought anyway. Another unnecessary expense out there is, I think, happy hour drinks with people you don't really know that well. So one of the best things about the last year, in my opinion, is that it really forced you to examine who you were spending time with. With the pandemic now coming to an end, we're inevitably going to get asked to get, drinks or hang out with people that we don't really see that often. These are the people that you might see once or twice a year, or maybe they're coworkers of yours, and inevitably they'll get asked to get drinks or food with them. And if you're young and you're living in this city, well, these drinks can add up to quite a lot of money, even if you're just doing this once or twice a month. What I like to do instead is just ditch the drinks, opt for something healthy, maybe go for a walk outside, get a coffee, because even getting a coffee is gonna be far less money than, say, spending money at on cocktails at a swanky bar. The next thing that I don't find too necessary at all is cell phone insurance. So whenever you buy a new smartphone these days, because the phones are so expensive, they'll inevitably ask you to spend money on an insurance plan. And Apple Care can get really expensive, being close to a couple $100. And I get it. Like, they're really expensive items, and as an investment, you don't really want to lose out on that investment, so you want to protect them as much as you can. The reason I don't think that phone insurance is that necessary is twofold. So number one, I'm really careful with my phones in general. I'm always putting a case on it, and I'm pretty cognizant of keeping them safe. Now, if I wasn't really that careful with them, I still have a credit card that offers device insurance already included as a perk. If you just Google credit cards that offer cell phone insurance, you'll find a lot of cards that offer this type of protection built right into their perks. And some cards even have a 0 annual fee, so you can get this cell phone insurance completely for free. For example, the Chase Freedom Flex offers up to $800 per claim for a damaged or a stolen phone, as long as you use that card to pay your monthly cell phone bill. So that's what I do. I just have a credit card that offers that perk, and that way I'm already getting more value out of a card I already use. If you do go this route and you get a credit card that offers cell phone insurance and that card requires, let's say, an annual fee, just make sure that you're justifying the annual fee on that card with your annual spending. So just always make sure you're responsible with the card as well. Make sure to pay it off in full and don't get into any unnecessary debt. So another thing that I think is pretty unnecessary these days, especially are cable TV packages. Now, these are crazy because the average price of cable TV packaging these days is between $85 to $100. And this is one expense that's easiest to cut out, in my opinion, because of all the different available options there are for streaming services. I personally don't watch much TV, but when I do watch TV, it's typically network TV, which is free, or I'll just watch a show on Netflix, which is a fraction of the price of cable TV. If you're into sporting events, you can often stream them for free online, or I've noticed that you can just subscribe to, let's say, ESPN Plus, which is $6 a month and gets you access to a lot of live sporting events. Another thing I noticed with cable TV is that most people don't even try to call and try to negotiate their plan anymore. So typically cable TV packages come with an introductory offer they have for about 12 months, and then afterward they jack their prices up after the 12-month period. So if you just make it a task to call in once every year or so and just let them know in a nice way that you're thinking of other offers or maybe you're canceling, you'll more often than not get them to honor the same price that you signed up with. I think there are people that are out there that often rag on others that have a Netflix or a Hulu subscription, but if the alternative is paying like 8 times more for cable television, then I'd take that Netflix or Hulu subscription any day of the week. The next thing on my list are clothes that you wear once or for one-time occasions. So I used to buy clothes for special events or just to impress someone or for even a date, but I'm sure you've all been there too. Maybe you buy a shirt or a suit or a dress just for one occasion, like even a wedding, a prom, a special work event, and you end up just wearing it once because that item was made just for that occasion, and it ends up just sitting in your closet the rest of the 364 days out of the year. So I actually have one sweater that is somewhat fancy, made out of cashmere, not to brag or anything, but I feel really guilty for ever wearing it out on a normal occasion because I just don't want to get it ruined, and the amount of specific situation it actually fits into is actually very limited. I think I've maybe worn it twice since I bought it, and now looking back at it, I think that purchase was completely unnecessary. Whenever I'm buying a new piece of clothing these days, I'm looking to make the most use of that item. So if I can't envision myself wearing it at least 10 times or more, then I'm just gonna stay away from it. So yeah, even this outfit that I'm wearing today, I've worn this shirt at least once a week for the past 2 years. So if you do the math on that, I've probably worn this shirt 100 times. And if it costs $100, that's less than $1 per wear that I actually use it. I've definitely gotten the most value out of my clothing because I don't switch it out that often. So I think that if you can cut out some of those unnecessary expenses of one-time clothing that you're only gonna wear one day out of the year, then you're gonna be a lot better off. Next are delivery apps. I know that last year with everything that's going on, and we're probably all really guilty of this, we spent so much time at home, and going out to pick up food was probably a hassle and also more risky. If you did get in this habit of ordering food on delivery apps in the last year, you'll know that ordering food from your favorite restaurant on apps like DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub definitely does not help your wallet. DoorDash delivery fees, service fees, taxes, and tip can make a $15 meal closer to $30. And when you're doing this on the regular, it can really add up. Not to mention the food typically gets to you pretty lukewarm, and oftentimes they can get it wrong. And if they do get it wrong, there's nothing that you can really do about it. So one thing that I like to do to prevent myself from actually using delivery apps is just to remove the apps from my home screen, or you can also just delete the apps as well. So any extra friction that you can put between you and ordering the food when you're feeling lazy, the better. So instead, try to just walk and pick up the food, get some exercise, or if you're good at cooking, opt for a home-cooked meal instead. It can actually save you some money. Now, next up, I've mentioned this in a previous video before, but I will not buy band merchandise anymore when I'm going to a concert. Now, this thing back here was free with my ticket, so I'm not gonna count this Reputation tour box from Taylor Swift, but with things opening up these days, we're inevitably going to be going to more concerts. And one of the ways that I personally spend more money than I intend to is typically with band merchandise when I'm at the concert. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't support any band. Like if you have some all-time favorite bands, like my personal favorites are Weezer and Clairo, or maybe Taylor Swift. And if you want to support them via a purchase of their band merch, then by all means do so. What I'm talking about is that specific situation in which you are going to a concert of an artist that you don't really know that well. Like maybe your friend invites you to, I don't know, let's say you watch the 1975 and you end up getting mesmerized by them that night. You end up stopping by the merch line and you buy one of these t-shirts that's made in China that doesn't really fit. Maybe you're too lazy to try it on when you're there and you just ended up wearing it maybe once and you realize it doesn't really work for you, or it doesn't really work for your wardrobe, and you end up never wearing it again. So along with the theme of only wearing an article of clothing once, I feel like band merch really just falls into this. It's the definition of an impulse buy, especially if you're buying it at the concert. So I would stay away from band merch if you can. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video. Let me know what items above you agree or disagree with. And as always, make sure to like the video and subscribe to this video if you got any value out of it. If you'd like some free stocks, check out the description below and make sure to check out the Hump Days newsletter as I mentioned earlier. Lastly, thanks to all my Patreon supporters. I will see you guys in the next video, which will probably be next week. Peace.